we experience something and we gain meaning from it upon reflection. And when something happens, we know it's a good story when something unexpected happens. That's been the insight that I have received in going through so many different things in life and realizing like the stories that people connect with that I tell, something unexpected happens. So that can be something that's unexpected and it's just entertaining. It's, whoa, that was funny. And a great example of that is like Jerry Seinfeld, and his entire comedy ethos is it doesn't need to make sense. It doesn't need to have some deeper meaning. It just needs to be funny. That's true for what he does, and he does it masterfully. And it can just be that, and he's proven that that can be successful. I also think that something can be funny and educational. We can like gain value from it, and I tend to like the combination of the two. But sometimes things happen to us and they're just funny. So as I was thinking about this, I'm like, one story that I just told my kids um, was this moment that happened to me years ago. I worked in a tire shop, and me and these guys, we were like doing these physical feats, and we're taking like heavy like truck wheels, and we were like doing rotations over our heads with them, and we were doing pull-ups and kind of like flexing our, manly prowess around each other. And then one guy in our group, he comes up and he's like, oh, I used to be in great shape. I could do this, I could do that. And we're all sitting there like, I don't know if we fully believe what you're saying right now. And then from the back of the shop, this guy who was like, I want to say he was probably in his mid to late 50s, small little guy, probably about 130 pounds. He was super light, maybe 140. But John Kern, and after this moment, we called him the Colonel. The Colonel from the back goes, used to don't mean shit. And we turn and we look at him. We're like, what? And he comes walking up to this other guy, Eric, and he goes, used to don't mean shit, boy. I used to be 240 pounds of ripped muscle, or I think it was 220 pounds. 220 pounds of ripped muscle. But look at me now. Used to don't mean shit. I instantly started laughing. I was like, there's no fucking way you were ever 220 pounds, John. He goes, I'm going to bring in a photo tomorrow. And he like throws something and he walks off, and I was like, I'm laughing because I'm like, that is the biggest lie I have ever heard. First off, this other guy, Eric, I couldn't believe what he was saying, but then this was an even taller order. I was just like, there's no way. He's not going to bring in the photo. We're just going to forget about it. But sure enough, the next day, John Kern, the Colonel, drops this Polaroid picture of him in his prime, just wrecked with muscles. And I'm like, are you kidding me? He goes, I'm not kidding you. I was roided up, boy. And it cracked me up that, like, not only was he telling the truth, but he was so honest that he was like, I was, like, pumped up with all sorts of, performance-enhancing drugs to get to that. Because I could tell, I'm like, he's younger. It's like, it's hard to make out in this picture that that was actually him. But I could tell it was him, and I could tell he was telling the truth. And he was hitting me with so much truth that it just cracked me up. And then Eric, the guy that was talking all of these lies, he was just like, okay. Like, and he almost had to admit that, like, what I was talking about was bullshit, but you're not full of shit. And he goes, yeah, But you know what? Even though I was that, I'm not that now. Look at me. And he was like rail thin at the time that he was telling us this. And he's like, used to don't mean shit. And so upon reflection of that story, like I would tell other people that story and it would get a genuine laugh because it like genuinely when I was there, it was hilarious. And I experienced it. So when I relive it, that becomes something that other people also they live for the first time. What makes it, in my opinion, what makes it good is the twist of like this guy actually was this thing and it just seems so unbelievable. And it was funny how he came into the story and it's just it's awesome for that reason. But then I also think about like kind of from a you know a virtuous standpoint or a takeaway from what he was saying is yes, there's truth that what we have done is not what we are currently, but it does have impact. And that guy achieved something, albeit like through performance enhancing drugs. He did push himself to a certain physicality, and but now he looks back on it like, yeah, well, I'm not that anymore. We all grow, we all mature, and maybe he got to the point where he realized, like, what am I doing this for? Who am I doing this for? He's putting his body in extreme stress for what? You know, to like show off? Maybe it was always in his life's design to have that moment so I could tell other people that he did it. I don't know. But I guess it kind of comes back to the root of like what we do and why is so important. Because he got to a very impressive physical state, but I think he found that his why wasn't good enough. It didn't really help anybody. It made him feel real good in the moment, and it's like a cool, I guess, look back and brag moment. But who was he actually helping? So he stopped doing steroids, and at that point he was working in a tire shop. He was doing something more useful with his time, and that was probably far more fulfilling. And he realized like, but there's no taking away. He was impressive, no doubt. Hope you guys have a good day. And I'd love to hear some awesome stories that you guys have, or something funny happened to you. I'd love to hear about it. Thanks for tuning in, and see you on the next round.